My name is Diane Victor. I'm an artist from South Africa based in Johannesburg. I work mainly in printmaking and drawing, and the exhibition here is a range of the printmaking I've made over my career. So it's a combination of etchings, copper and zinc etchings and embossing, and lithography. The majority of the lithography here is made down in a studio in the south of France, L'Atelier Le Grand Village, where I work. It's close to Massignac, and most of the lithos, including the ones behind me, were generated there. With printmaking, I was an art student at Wits University, and because my passion was drawing, I wasn't a painter. I think in black and white. So in my second year of university, I started working with etching, with gravure, and I was very passionately attracted by it because of the amount of detail, but also the fact that printmaking is a people's medium. In South Africa, there's a very strong tradition of printmaking. Because of protest art, it was a way to make an image that could be distributed to the masses. And for me, it was important to make a medium, to work in a medium that was not only for the museum or the private owner, but it was a way to disseminate information to more people. So I became interested in etching, and then I did my major in etching and printmaking. After I finished studying, I've been fortunate enough to travel to different studios around the world, and you never stop learning. So every studio you go to, you gain something new. Whether I've been fortunate enough to work in China and in America and in France and in Austria, other countries, and each studio you learn a technique. So I think it's a very generous process because it is always studio driven. You do not do it on your own. So I give skills and I gain skills. I also continue to teach, and I have taught since I was finished studying at a number of different universities where I teach printmaking and drawing. So it is an ongoing process. You never know everything, you always learn. I have a passion with a number of artists, so I become obsessed by one or two artists. When I was a student, I was always looking at the north. I was looking, because we are very much a southern country, I was looking to the north. I was looking at the old school technical, whether it was Albrecht Dürer or Goya or Calotte or people working with print, Rembrandt, and I wanted very much to understand their skills. So at that time, it was about learning skills. But more recently, I become obsessed with other contemporary printmakers, whether it is people who work in print as well as other mediums, whether it's Anselm Kiefer's big woodcuts or the etchings of Lucien Freud or Kitai. I have obsessions and passions, and then you internalize and move on. So it is something that is always changing, but my main interest has always been for print as a power against oppression, and that a medium that can speak out against what is the right word? Problems in society. And I think I've always looked at artists, somebody like Kathy Kollwitz or Otto Dix, or people who have used print in a way to make work that has not necessarily protest, but that is satirically driven against society. It's not my intention to go forward and make a message, but I often think, what right have I to make images in this world that do not try and improve things? I often think it is rather egotistical just to make work for yourself. It is self-pleasing, it is great, but I have always made images about things that make me angry, because it is a form of catharsis. I cannot change the world, I cannot protest on my own, I cannot run a political party, but for me it is a way of recording and making a record of something that angers me. Very often they are small details that go almost unnoticed in the news. Some action or atrocity occurs, and I am often angered or feel a great compassion for those where bad things happen and nobody remembers. And that is the main reason that I make the images that I do. I am driven by the anger that I feel against the sense of injustice. So certainly I could make, many people have asked me why I do not make works that are happier, but I feel there are enough other artists doing that, and I make work about what makes me angry, because once it's been made, the work is outside of you, and it is something that you can speak to. It's a kind of purging or catharsis. So yes, this is what I do, not only in print, but in drawing as well. And then the only other strong influence I have in my process is my interest in different technical solutions and alternative solutions. So printmaking has rather, not rigid, but it has certain ways of working. And I like to subvert that and think of ways that I can change something or experiment, whether it is drawing with very different mediums. And I find there's a strong link between the drawings I do and the prints I make. So a process like drawing in ash or smoke is linked to my background in printmaking. When you smoke a plate, you use the smoke to, it is from that I start drawing with smoke. So the two are very strongly linked. But always the core idea is I must make an image that's worth making. Otherwise, what is the point? Jumping the Shadow is a manière noire litho that was made at Le Grand Village. It's a combination of manière noire and normal crayon litho drawing. And it was made after a short visit I did to a memorial very close to the studio called Originale. It is the remains of this village that was so horrendously decimated. And again, my sense of the horror and the outrage of the history of this beautiful French farmland, and the desire to make a work that was some response to our histories, that we jump our own shadows. I was also very intrigued by the wild boar, and in the restaurants there you always see these boar, and I wanted to make an image that combined the boar and the history of our past, our shadows. We must jump our shadows. We need to jump the bad things of our past and move on, but always your shadow rises up to meet you. And if anything, it's a warning about the inherent violence in society, and the violence in society that is never totally suppressed. It's always there. And we keep jumping our shadows. As children, you should not step on the cracks in the pavement. As an adult, we need to jump our shadows and not repeat the atrocities and the violence. So it speaks to violence against women, but also a more general violence against society.